Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the remake of Flappy Bird. Now, over the last few days, this has gone viral on social media. If you don't remember, actually it just kind of dawned on me, there's people watching this video that never played Flappy Bird. But about a decade ago at this point now, there was this massive phone game called Flappy Bird that came out and pretty much took the world by storm. It wasn't the first mobile game to go super viral, but it's definitely probably one of the biggest names in mobile gaming history ever, just because of like the hype that it created, right? Now, this game was delisted off of like Apple's store and Google's Play Store and whatnot during the peak of its popularity, right? And, well, all this time later, apparently now there's a remake of Flappy Bird coming out, and this video trailer got posted to Twitter by an account called Flappy Bird that, you know, basically is just announcing this new thing, and it says something pretty interesting in the announcement that I think got quite a bit of people happy and excited for this entire thing, and it's kind of sad that it's all bullshit, but, I mean, you obviously know that by the title of this video, so let's go ahead and take a look at the announcement real quick. I am back. Just a decade ago, I was the talk of town and soaring to new heights with my 100 million friends. Sadly, I had to leave the fame and spotlight behind to go home and find out who I really am. Thanks to my super Flappy Bird fans, I'm refreshed, reinvigorated, and ready to soar again. The decade-long mission involving acquiring legal rights and even working with my predecessor to uncage me and rehatch the official Flappy Bird game. And then there was a video trailer attached, basically just showing the game, maybe some like new additions or whatever to it. And you know, a lot of people got really excited about this. People were hyped up like, hey, you know, maybe it's not the greatest thing that's ever happened, but this cool little phone game I played back in the day is finally coming back, right? I'm gonna get to re-download it and enjoy it like I used to play it. Well, unfortunately, this whole statement here is filled with complete lies, and it is intentionally deceptive. Now, like I said, tons of people got excited, and even me, like when I first saw the trailer, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, right? Because I remember playing this game back when I was still in school. Like, it was such a big phenomenon. They were legitimately worried, like, kids were gonna bring iPhones, or at that time, most of us had iPod Touches, but, you know, you bring your device to school or whatever, and that you'd be playing it in class, right? So there was this big thing about it, and, you know, everyone's all hyped up for it to come back. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that statement again, because there's two things I want to point out that are just obvious bullshit about this. So, in the first paragraph, it says, quote, I had to leave the fame and spotlight behind to go home and find out who I really am. So they're trying to like paint this like, oh, you know, we put this shit back in the lab, you know, for testing for another decade. And then, you know, we were going to find out what to do with it. That's not what happened at all. So if you don't know what actually originally happened to Flappy Bird, it was created by a Vietnamese programmer by the name Dong Nguyen. And he actually took Flappy Bird down himself during the midst of its popularity. He was worried that people were going to become too addicted to playing it, you know, it was going to cause all these problems. The phenomena around it was unnecessary. He didn't really want the attention. And so even though he was making like $50,000 a day off of this app, he literally just delisted it and went off into the sunset and just was living happily all this time. At least that's what I would assume, right? So this story they're telling of, oh, we were just trying to figure this all out, that's not what happened at all. That's quite literally just something they came up with to try and like sell people and get them on board for this whole thing. And then it says also the decade-long mission involving acquiring legal rights and even working with my predecessor to uncage me, right? This is bullshit as well. So, number one, we have found out that Dong Nguyen, the original programmer of the game and whatnot, is not involved with the new project. He did not give his blessing on it, and the only reason it actually exists is due to a technicality. So, basically, the Flappy Bird trademark has expired. So, the game came out a decade ago. The trademark, I guess, lasted around 10 years or so. And so, even though the game was, like, delisted or whatever, obviously no one else could just come along and make a new Flappy Bird, basically steal the IP from the guy who created it. So it sat there dormant for all these years, and then finally in the last couple months or whatever, the trademark on the game and the IP itself expired. So these new people, realizing that there was an opportunity here, came in, they secured the trademark after it expired, and then now are basically republishing the game with no real work or anything done by the predecessor who actually created the game we all knew and loved. is not involved whatsoever. So at this point, obviously this is just a complete lie, and the people who are bringing this game back are just trying to bullshit people. It's just nostalgia bait, you know, oh, you played this game back in middle school or whatever? Sure, re-download our version of it. Our new and improved Flappy Bird after all this time. Well, certainly people are going to download it because obviously it's a huge name product. People are going to be curious to see, oh, what exactly is new about it, if anything is new about it. Well, the concern is based on the people who actually purchased the trademark that this is going to be a lot worse than we expected. So as it stands right now, the people who purchased Flappy Bird and have basically brought it back are Web3 crypto bros who will more than likely introduce microtransactions and some sort of like NFT or crypto functionality into the game. So all of these people are just wanting to play Flappy Bird. They're excited for that to come back. Well, this isn't really Flappy Bird that's coming back. You know, it's like Flappy Bird if someone took the concept that was cool a decade ago and completely pissed on it and set it on fire, right? Now you might be thinking, oh, Optimus, who cares, man? Flappy Bird's been a decade ago. Well, the issue is this could realistically not only just happen to Flappy Bird, it could happen to any game where similar circumstances pop out like this. Number two, they're obviously lying to people, which is just morally wrong regardless. And number three, they're ruining a pretty cool idea and a cool game, and one that had a lot of history in the mobile phone game market, right? Flappy Bird is one of the biggest mobile games pretty much ever, you know? And realistically, it didn't even get its full time in the spotlight, and for a pretty respectable reason. Like, if there was going to be a reason that it got taken down, I'm happy for real that it was the original guy who decided to take it down, and it was under his own will, and he had his own reasons for it. I respected that, and I mean, to see it get kind of taken back over without his consent or any really input on the entire thing, it's really scummy, and it looks really bad on the people doing it. Now, I'm sure they don't care, because there's obviously a lot of money to be made here. Realistically, they only need a couple thousand people to routinely play the game for it to probably be successful. I really doubt that they invested too much money into this because, I mean, let's be real. The concept was already there. The game is super simple. You can literally look up YouTube tutorials that will teach you how to program a Flappy Bird, basically like clone, in like a couple of hours if you have just even introductory programming experience. So it's not like, you know, they're making some fucking $250 million open world RPG or anything like that. I mean, like I said, anyone with really any modicum of programming knowledge could probably knock out a Flappy Bird reskin in a couple of days if they were dedicated enough. And I also want to point out too that like when it comes to the trademark expiring, you know, they made it out like, oh, we had to go through this massive decade-long journey to secure the legal rights. Basically, that quote-unquote journey was a couple of NFT bros sitting in a chair for a decade, literally watching paint dry. They didn't put any money to the original developer. They didn't buy the trademarks, anything like that. They literally just sat here and waited. They did what everybody else has done all this time, you know, lived their own lives or whatever, and then when the trademark finally expired, they just came and scooped it up basically for free. Or if not for free, they put in a couple $100 maybe just to secure everything. They didn't really do any work, and that's the problem that I have with this. Now, it would be a completely different story, in my opinion, if these guys came in, they bought the rights to it from the original creator, the guy who actually came up with the concept, you know, got to run off with his money. If that's the way he decided to deal with all of this, then okay, right? That's fair game. The original creator was at least involved in negotiating or something, right? But that's literally just not what happened here. So this guy who actually created a viral hit phenomena all this time ago, right, is basically watching as that idea is being scraped along for pennies by people who really couldn't give a fuck less, right? Now, honestly, part of the reason why I was kind of surprised to even see this in the first place is like I kind of thought Flappy Bird was still at least a little bit of a thing. Like, I don't know if this is in every arcade or whatever, but like if you go to some arcades out there, man, or like Dave & Buster's or some other things out there, there's these like Flappy Bird arcade machines that have existed, right? So I would assume that the company that made those and everything, right, I figured that they would be trying to maintain their IP rights and like trying to maintain the trademarks. I don't really know how long it's been since those really started debuting. Maybe they came out around the same time, and that's why like the trademarks or whatever are not being cared about for them either. But I mean, I didn't think that Flappy Bird just ended at the phone app because, like I said, they had these arcade machines that had it and everything else, right? But then now these guys are kind of just coming along with the IP and just doing whatever they want with it. So realistically, is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. But it's just one of those examples of like some people coming along, scooping up the rights to something after all this time, trying to pass it off like it's theirs and they did something cool, when in reality, they're pretty much, it appears, just ruining the cool shit that we liked. I just honestly think that shit like this sets a terrible precedent, right? It basically just encourages and emboldens uncreative people who don't really give a fuck about making games or like entertaining people or whatever to just come along and scoop up something whenever that they can, dump a couple $100 into it, pretend it's something brand new. And then the sad reality is, if this does go down the route of like being Web3 shit where, you know, oh, cryptocurrency or oh, NFT, microtransaction, shit like that, right? It's just gonna be kind of sad, man, you know? This is a game that when it came out, these things weren't even really a fucking reality, you know? Especially in the gaming world. There was no NFT in your game or anything like that. Now, if they just came along and just dropped the original Flappy Bird the exact same way that it was, I think it'd be a little bit less egregious, but I don't know, the way that they're marketing this, the way they're trying to pass this shit off, it just seems really scummy, and it seems really like they're just trying to rip off the audience, like they're trying to sell people this fake nostalgia, all this cool game's coming back. Nah, man, it's something completely different. And I'm not even hating on the fact that they might be adding like new levels or content or whatever, right? I just don't want it to be slop. You know, I don't want it to be some shit that some guy came along and just threw out for the sake of making profit. That would be a really lame way for this story to end. And in a more dystopian and creepy way, it's almost like proving the original creator's suspicions right, you know? Like he was worried that the game was going to become too addictive for people. He thought that it was like destroying the simplicity of his life, having to maintain this massive game. And then for it to just like turn out this way, I don't know, man. It just seems super depressing. And it's just something that I don't think people should openly support personally. But anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus talking about the Flappy Bird remake and signing out. And that's a wrap on this video, but big shout out to my Optimus Nation supporters. You guys are the real MVPs. For $10 a month, you get access to loads of exclusive videos and archived live streams, my members only Minecraft server where you can possibly appear in gameplay, early access to all new uploads, an invitation to the private Discord, and much more.